The 30th Conference of Parties, or COP30, is being held in Belem, Brazil from 10th to 21st November 2025. Held in the heart of the Amazon, this summit carries symbolic weight. The Brazilian presidency has framed it as an implementation COP to move beyond pledges towards measurable delivery on climate commitments. With no single headline issue but several complex negotiation tracks, countries are expected to focus on finalizing work under key frameworks, from adaptation and loss and damage to just transition, mitigation, finance, and carbon markets. Finance. Finance will continue to be a closely watched issue at COP30, with several issues in contention. First, the Baku to Belem roadmap proposes an aspirational target of $1.3 trillion by the year 2035 for developing countries, led by the Azerbaijan and Brazil presidencies. While it is not a negotiated outcome, the recent report released by the presidencies outlines 5 broad strategies called the 5 Rs: replenishing grant funds, rebalancing debt burdens, rechanneling private finance, revamping institutional capacity, and reshaping global financial systems. However, civil society groups warn that this roadmap shifts responsibility away from developed countries onto developing ones and private actors. Second, Brazil is promoting the Tropical Forest Forever Facility, or the TFFF, which seeks to raise $125 billion for forest conservation in tropical countries through blended finance. The plan aims to reward countries for protecting their forests, with a share of the benefits going to indigenous communities. However, questions remain over its market-based design and the risk of Global South nations effectively paying for their own conservation. Third, under Article 2.1c of the Paris Agreement, discussions on aligning global finance flows with Paris goals concluded this year. The recent co-chairs report on this subject proposes a permanent dialogue and a high-level forum at each COP to address the systemic issues in finance like debt and investment gaps. And finally, Article 9.1 of the Paris Agreement, which requires developed countries to provide financial support to developing countries, has become a point of contention. At the Bonn conference in June 2025, the like-minded developing countries bloc proposed a standalone agenda item on Article 9.1 to hold developing countries to the obligation of providing finance that is additional, predictable, concessional, and transparent. Article 9.1 is still on the provisional agenda for COP30 in Belem and may spark a disagreement at the opening plenary. COP30 in Belem will test whether global climate diplomacy can still deliver. Implementation, equity, and finance remain key, and the outcomes will shape how the world moves from pledges and negotiations towards equitable implementation.